Hi again, guys. Welcome to my Business Mathematics for UiTM YouTube channel. Okay, my name is Kamaru Arifin Mansur. So I will be teaching you today on the topic of depreciation. So basically, this is the ninth topics in the syllabus of Business Mathematics for UiTM. So without further ado, let's just start with our session for today. Okay. So if you are new to this channel, please subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any important videos when I uploaded a new one. And please like the like button if please click on the like button if you like the videos, and do share with your friends so that they can also learn from this video. Okay, so let's start with our session. So in this case, first of all, let's just look at what are the learning outcomes related to these topics. Okay, so the first slides, which is available for you to download from my website, is on the learning outcome on the topics of depreciations. Okay, says here by the end of this chapter, students should be able to explain the concept of depreciation. So we're going to start with the concept of depreciation, what is depreciation is all about. And then we're going to identify some of the terms and its meaning related to the topics of depreciation. So this is some of the terms that is important in order you to grasp the content on these topics. Then we're going to look at how you can differentiate the two methods covered in these topics in order to calculate the depreciation. So basically, in the beginning of the previous years, we have three methods covered, but right now we only cover only two methods out of three. So we're gonna continue with the calculation of the depreciation, basically based on the two methods that we're gonna discuss later. Namely, the two methods are the straight line methods and the declining balance methods. Okay, so that's are the some of the learning outcomes that you need to grasp under these topics. You need to understand, you need to master in order to answer questions related to depreciations later on in the final exam or in your tests. Okay, so let's start with the definition of what it means by depreciations. So in this case, when we talk about depreciation, it simply means that the loss in values. So which means that when you buy some certain product, when you buy certain assets, so normally asset that is usable, it has its life. Okay, it has its life, or what we call as the economic life, or sometimes we call it as the useful life. So as time goes by, when you use these assets, when you use these things and this machine whatsoever, the value of it will decrease. Okay, for example, when you say decrease means that, for example, let's say you buy a certain asset at 50,000, and then after 1 year of usage, the value right now not at 50,000 anymore, but has been reduced because of the wear and tear. So it may be reduced until maybe in terms of 5,000 reduction, it becomes 40,000 after 1 year of usage. So this is what we call as depreciation. So it means that the loss in value. So in other words, in layman terms, it says just simply means that a decreasing in values of the asset itself. Okay, so by definition, it says here depreciation is defined as the loss in values of capital assets such as vehicles, machinery, tools, and equipment due to usage over times. So it gives you example there, vehicle, for example, your car or company car, or maybe in terms of machinery, tools, For example, let's say you have a factory, maybe in terms of let's say you have a textile factory, and then you have machines to produce your product. So these machines is considered to be asset, and it is depreciate in values over time. Okay, so thus in general the term depreciation refers to fall in the value or utility or of fixed asset which are used in operations. So whichever that you are using, the asset that you are using, the machine that you are using in the operation of your business, its value will be decreasing after certain time, after certain usage. Okay, so this is what is actually depreciation is all about. So in this case, when we talk about depreciation, in other words, we can say that depreciation is a process of spreading the cost of a fixed asset over the number of years during which benefits of the asset is received. What it means here, as long as it is usable, then the cost will be spread over the time, okay, over the time frame. But of course, whenever you buy certain asset, it has its useful life, okay, or sometimes we call it as economic life, which benefits the user. Okay, so the fall in values or utility of fixed asset due to so many causes like wear and tear. So if you buy something, for example, if you use a vehicles, of course, if you do it using it daily, there will be a wear and tear in terms of the mechanical equipment in the vehicle itself, or maybe in terms of other things that related to the vehicles. Okay, so that is what I mean by wear and tear. And then maybe in terms of a decay, effluxion of times of obsolescence, so it's over time new things coming up, so it become obsolete. Okay, and then maybe also because of replacement, so you have to replace with a new, with a spare part, for example, or maybe because of breakdown. Okay, and also due to fall in market value. Okay, that's why whenever you buy a car, and of course normally in Malaysia, when you buy a car, you have to buy also the insurance to cover the car. So after 1 year, the coverage amount will be reduced to the market value. So as time goes by, the market value will be decreasing. So this is what it means by fall in market value. Okay, so these are some of the factors that affect the amount of depreciation. One of the things is the original cost of the asset itself, and then its useful life, okay, or the economic life. So this is the estimated duration that the asset can last. So normally this is basically based on testing at the manufacturing level, okay, and manufacturer levels. So for example, let's say if you buy a microchips, it has its useful life. So during the process of manufacturing a microchip, there will be one section called testing. So in this section, they will test the microchips for how long it will last. Okay, so every manufacturer have its testing procedures, and from these testing procedures, it gives you the estimated useful life of the asset itself. Okay, and then also it depends on the estimated scrap values. Okay, estimated scrap value means that after at the end of its useful life, if you want to let go the asset, so what is the market value at that time? Okay, so it calls estimated scrap or residual value. Okay, so simply means scrap value. Okay, so basically it is a market price at the end of its useful life. And then the last one is the selection of methods to be used in the calculation of depreciation. In our case here, in our syllabus at the moment, we are going to discuss two methods, which are the straight line method and also the declining balance methods. All right. So before we go any further, let's just look at some of the important terms related to these topics. So let's just go through this one first. Okay, bear in mind that in our session today, what I'm going to do is to just give you brief through the concept first, and then after we have finished with the concept for both of the techniques or both of the methods, then we're going to discuss on the examples. Okay, so let's look at what are the important terms that you need to understand under these topics. The first one is what we call as original cost. So this is the cost paid for the item, including any sales tax, transportation charges, installation charges, and other costs that incurred. So basically, when we talk about original cost, is basically what are the amount that you have to pay in order to get the product or to get the asset. And then we have the salvage cost, or sometimes also we call it as a scrap value or the residual values. All right, the salvage cost is cost at the end of its lifetime, or in other words, is the market value at the end of its lifetime. So it's also called as the scrap value or trade-in value, or maybe a junkyard value or residual value. So there are so many names that can be related to the salvage cost. Okay, so basically it just means the same thing. All right, and then we have useful life, denoted as N. So this is the life expectancy, so estimated life expectancy of the number of years that the asset is expected to last, that the asset is expected to benefit the users. Okay, sometimes also the useful life is called the economic life, right? And then the next one is what we call as the book value, and we denote it as BV. So this is the difference between the original cost and the accumulated depreciation to that date. So basically, if I say that the book value of year 5, BV5, it means that the difference between the original cost, C, minus the accumulated depreciation for 5 years. So that means it has already depreciated for 5 years, reducing in values for 5 years. So that is basically the book value, or sometimes we call it as the market value. Okay, and then the total depreciation is simply the difference between the original cost and the salvage cost, or the scrap value. Annual depreciation is the amount of depreciation in a year. Okay, in a year. So that means every year how much it depreciates. So bear in mind that the values will be different using different methods. Accumulated depreciation is simply the total depreciation to date. So that means you add the annual depreciation until the date that you required. For example, let's say the annual depreciation is 100 every year for 10 years. If you want to find the accumulated depreciation for 5 years, so that means you add from year 1 depreciation until year 5. So you get 500 ringgit. Okay, so that is basically some of the important terms that you need to understand within the topics. So let's go through with the first methods of depreciation. We call this as the straight line methods. So under the straight line methods, the total depreciation is spread equally over the useful life. Okay, the total depreciation is spread equally under the useful life. So in other words, the annual depreciation will be a constant value. Okay, the annual depreciation will be a constant value, which means that the value depreciate in year 1 will be the same as the value depreciate in year 2. So if year 1 it depreciate 500 ringgit, year 2 also it will depreciate another 500 ringgit, and so on. So to find the annual depreciation is simply by using the formula below. So this is the formula. It says here depreciation equal to total cost of an asset C minus the scrap value S divided by the estimated life of asset, that is N. So C minus S divided by N. If you look to the diagram on the right side, they give you some indication or some diagrammatic features on how the straight line depreciation is being applied. Okay, so you can see that it started with the cost of 25,000, and then the last value for this asset is 0, so that means the service value is 0. So you have over 9 years, so that means in this case the total depreciation is simply 25,000 minus 0 because the service value is 0. So you get 25,000 divided by 9 years, so you have 3,125 ringgit per year. So for the first year it depreciates 3,125. For the second year it depreciates 3,125, and so on. So this is the amount of depreciation, and here will be the book value at the end of 1 year, book value at the end of the second year, and so on. Okay, so this is basically the a diagram showing you how the straight line method is being applied. Okay, so it says here on the text on the left side here, under this method, depreciation is charged for every year will be a constant amount throughout the life of the assets. Okay, so that is basically what it means by the straight line methods. And some of the formulas related to the straight line method is given in this slide. For example, in this case, the annual depreciation AD is simply equal to the cost minus the scrap value divided by the useful life, which is equal to C minus S divided by N. And to get the rate of depreciation, we have two methods to calculate the rate of depreciation using the straight line method. First, by taking the annual depreciation, the left side here, divided by the total depreciation multiplied with 100%, or simply AD divided by TD, that is the total depreciation, multiplied with 100%. Or you can calculate the rate of depreciation for a straight line method using the useful life, which is given by 1 divided by the useful life times 100%. So 1 divided by N times 100%. In our example, in the diagram next to the previous slide, so you have 1 divided by 9 and then multiply with 100%. So you get the depreciation rate to be 11.11%. Okay, 11.1%. So if you calculate this one, if you multiply the rate with the total cost, you're gonna get the annual depreciation. So you multiply with 25,000. So you get you multiply with 25,000. Okay, so you can get the values over there. All right, so that is basically the total depreciation and also the depreciation. All right, and then to get the book value, so you can get the book value BVN. So BVN, and here refer to the times in years. Okay, if you want to find the book value for the 5th year, so it will be BV5. So this is simply the cost minus the accumulated depreciation. So the accumulated depreciation is given by N multiplied with AD, where you have AD here is the annual depreciations. So multiply with N, you get the total you get the accumulated depreciation for that particular year. So you multiply, you subtract from the cost, so you get the book value. Okay. Okay, so that is for the straight line method. The second method that you have under this topic is what we call as the declining balance method. So if you recall, you have came across these terms before in the topic of installment purchases, right? So basically the ideas is the same over here, but right now it is the application of declining balance methods in the topic of depreciation. So the declining balance method produces the highest depreciation charges in the earliest year, and the book value of the asset remaining at the end of the depreciation year become the scrap value, right? So what it says here, so the book value at the end of the useful life, so for example in this case the useful life is 5 years, 50,000 here, so this is the scrap value. So if you look through in this case, so when you have the method of declining balance methods, so the depreciation will be basically based on the current book value. For example, in this case, let's say the rate of declining balance is 40%. So the beginning of the years it started with 500,000. So 40% of 500,000 is 200,000. So this is the depreciation for year one. So at the end of year one, you have the book value to be 300,000. So this is the balance, the market value of the asset. So this book value will be used in the second year to calculate the second year depreciation. So basically, if you look through here, the rate of depreciation is being applied on a value that is declining. So that is why it is called the declining balance method. Okay, so this is the situation. So the right hand side here, the diagram shows you the process of the uh, declining balance method. So you can see that for the first year the depreciation is 6,250. The second year it reduced a little bit because it has been based on the reduced values, so it become 4,688 and so on. Okay, so that is the situation. All right, so it has a higher depreciation in the beginning and slowly it decrease in the amount of depreciation until its scrap value. Okay, so under this topic, so under these methods, so we have the formulas for calculating the rate of depreciation. So the rate of depreciation is basically given by 1 minus the square root of s divided by c to the power of n, square root of n, right? Okay, the square root of n, s divided by c, where s here refer to the scrap value and c refer to the cost. Okay, so this formula will give you the rate of depreciation, and with this rate of depreciation you can find the annual depreciation and so on. Or you can also find, if the scrap value is not available, you can also find the rate of depreciation of using the book value if it is given. So if you are using the book value, the formula is still the same, just that you change the s with bv. But be careful here. When you use 1 minus square root of n s divided by c, the value of n, when you use the scrap value as your input, the value of n here is basically the useful life. Okay, but if you are using bv, the book value, as your input, the value of n here refer to the n in the book value. If you're using the book value for the third year, so that means n here will be 3. Okay, not the useful life. So that what you need to be very careful. All right. Okay, so the cumulative depreciation is given by ACDN. So this is simply the cost minus the book values. Okay, and then c minus c1 minus r to the power of n. Okay, so this is the formula, and the book value formula is given by c1 minus r to the power of n. where R here is the rate of depreciation. So note here, N is useful life in years, S will be the salvage value, and C will be the cost. Okay, so that are basically some of the important concepts that you need to understand under the topic of depreciation. Okay, so in the next session I will continue with example of the two methods being applied in the topic of depreciations. Okay, so until we meet again in the next session, so let's just stop here first. Okay, thank you very much, and I see you again next time. Please remember to subscribe to my channel and click on the like button and the notification bell so that you won't miss any new videos uploaded. Okay, so thank you very much. Bye, and all the best to all of you.